these times being as intense as they are, and with everything that's going on globally on the planet, as in shifts that are happening energetically, as well as what's happening in the people. Of course, all of that is interconnected. There's no doubt about this. It's very easy for us to slip into habits of feeling sorry for ourselves, to use the exhaustion or that feeling of being drained, which can be quite natural, to go into a spiral downwards or go into a slump. And I believe this is a glorious time. I believe this is a massive time for us as manifestors. And therefore, we have two big jobs at the moment, and they are continuously realign our focus to where we want to go and keep our vibration high. I said this about what, 7, 8, 13 times in the last FlowClub Live. Realign your focus and raise your vibration. Realign your focus and raise your vibration. Raise your vibration, and from there, realign your focus. And so I observed a lot of things happening, especially in my private coaching sessions recently, that, just were evidence to everything that I picked up from other teachers, from what I see, from what I, download, and the informations I receive. And so today is all about, how do I realign my focus? How do I raise my vibration? And what does that actually mean? And also, what am I dealing with at the moment? And two things that I want to, put forward before I go into this are actually two things that I observed in my personal coaching sessions recently. And one is, we do have an immense manifesting power. Bluntly said, I think it, I feel it, it's delivered. It's not quite, I think of the elephant and it comes through my door. Of course, it's not that. But the speed of which things show up after I get an impulse, after we get the impulse, after we maybe put a focus on something, is quite extraordinary. And it's quite extraordinary to watch. And of course, that cautions us to be very careful with where we put our focus. And if our focus is on something that we don't want, to how do we get out of there? How do we change that? The second thing that I noticed is a lot of old traumas are being triggered at the moment. And that's something I picked up, I see, and I've actually experienced myself, that things that we believe have been long gone, that we worked through, that we released, or so we thought, are suddenly popping up again. They're showing again. They're showing up like an old wound. And it's interesting to see, because very often we go into, well, I've worked on this, I've done this, why is this popping up again? And instantly we might go again into the spiral downwards of, why is this popping up? I've done this. Is this not working? Why is this still dragging me down? And I actually believe these two belong together: the immense manifesting power and all traumas that might be triggered at the moment. That might not be the case for you, but I've seen it for many people, and I've seen it in myself. And I will give you an example in a moment to show you that it's actually not, it doesn't have to be the heavy stuff, but these two belong together. As I always say, when we set a strong intention, usually two things happen. The doors open, we start manifesting, we go through the door, and we experience what we want to experience, or we are being shown the stuff that might still hold us back, that we need to work on, that we need to release, that we need to change our perspective on. And so alt traumas being triggered or just showing up is a good thing, as long as we don't go into the victimhood of saying, why is this coming up again? And more into, interesting, why is this coming up now? What do I need to do with this information? And not identify with the trauma, just take it as a hint of, do I still need to look at this? Is there something I have to let go, or was it really just a memory, something that I just needed to think of? And so I'm going into this year with a lot of great intentions, strong intentions of different areas in my life. And so things popping now up, things are manifesting very fastly, very quickly, and all traumas might pop up. Just take them as, Oh, I didn't notice the spot on the rug before. I better clean it up before, before it spreads, or oh, I didn't know I spilled some coffee over there. I better clean that up before it seeps into the carpet or before it, it gets sticky. I think you get the picture. So we just want to clean it up and not go too much into it. And so those two belong together. Um, we have an immense manifesting power, and the old stuff might be triggered, it might be not. Don't dive into victimhood, don't overjudge it, don't take it too heavily. And then we go into the steps I want to propose for today, and that is realign your focus, set an intention, out of there, raise your vibration. Things might pop up that need cleaning, and then take action from that spot, from that new vantage point. That's where you take inspired action because you are in your highest vibration possible for now. And yes, what I talk about today is a lot of repetition, is a lot of things that you might have heard before, that I'm sure you've heard before. Sure, we all need to hear again and again and again. And keep in mind, I'm doing this impulse because I was thinking, okay, what is the most important thing at the moment? How can I serve the best currently? And what came up was how to navigate through these times. That is why I'm doing this. Navigate through these times that might be intense, that might be heavy, that might jolt us out, or that might just speed up so fastly, so quickly that we just need to learn how to realign as fast as times are moving. So when a trauma pops up, how do I realign my focus? Please forgive me this quick interruption, but just a reminder, if you do enjoy this content, please hit the like button and do subscribe to my channel, as it really does help me help you even more. Let's get back into the content. How do I realign my focus? Don't go into, why does that always happen to me? Why is that still there? Why is it happening? But go into, as I said before, and I have my notes down here, of course. Oh, it's just what I need to look at next. Apparently, I'm growing so fast, there's still some residue. And can you feel that realignment of the focus raises your vibration already because you take the heaviness, the importance out of it. It is very important, but you don't take the importance out of it. You take the power it seems to have over you out of it, and you take your power back by just giving it the weight it deserves and nothing more. So why am I giving you these tools that we're going in today is because nothing will weaken you as much as fear does. And with a lot of things happening at the moment, they are designed, let it be evolutionary or for whatever reason, to put us into a fear state, and therefore we can't move. And everything I aim to do is actually rise myself above the fear, rise myself into a bird's view to see what is actually happening, how that impacts me from my divine vantage point, and then take action from that spot. I hope this makes sense, but it feels like it does make sense. I wrote down old sessioned old walls. There's a story, something that happened a long time ago, but it happened quite often in my sessions. And I took people into trance states. And when they were facing a problem they didn't seem to get the answer to, they didn't seem to break through it. And very often that problem, if they were in a trance state, showed itself as this massive wall they were standing in front of. And very often that's the feeling we have if we go into the fear, if we go into the helplessness, if we go into the feeling of being stuck. And so they stand in front of their wall, and I asked them in their trance states, I asked their subconscious mind, so how can you get through the wall? How can you actually get what is behind that wall? And behind that wall was usually the happiness, the lightheartedness, the joy, the abundance, everything they wanted was behind that wall. And so they sometimes came up with these, I want to smash the wall, I want to bomb the wall, I want to climb over the wall, but it's so high. And, it was very interesting that then the image that happened was very often the same. I said, can you take a step back? And they said, yes, sure. I said, how wide is this wall? Because if you have to climb it, if you have to smash a hole into the wall, I assumed it's a very long wall. And more often than not, they go about 2 meters wide. So I said, so could you just peek around the corner and see what's actually behind it? Can you just walk around it? And they go, huh, actually I can. Now that was an energetic, subconscious exercise, but it shows, I think it's a beautiful picture, a beautiful analogy for how very often we keep ourselves paralyzed, like the rabbit looking at the snake, of not being able to move, when actually the wall is there, yes, and we've tried to figure out how to break down that wall. And all we need to do is actually just walk around it. We're standing too close to the wall. That's the center of this analogy. That's the core of this analogy. If you're standing too close to your problem, you can't see that it's actually only this far because all you see is stone. And you might look up and you see that's 10 meters high and never make it. The moment we allow ourselves to step back, I want to stay close to the microphone, the moment we allow ourselves to stay back, raise our vibration, realign our focus, take ourselves into the bird's eye view, we suddenly see that that wall is only like 2 meters wide and we could easily walk around it if we just change our perspective. And I believe that is what we need to do in these days in order to stay as much with ourselves, as much as in peace with ourselves as possible. I had 2 sessions yesterday with clients. Very, very different journeys, very, very different people. But the core message in both sessions was the same: coming back to myself, coming back to being at peace with myself. And from that point, I can make different decisions. I can be there and I'm not nervous anymore in the performance I have to do, So very, very different stories, but very similar, as in taking myself out of the drama, I'm just bringing myself back to myself first. Now, if I talk about raising your vibration, we need you to focus on yourself first. Many people fear that that means they have to be selfish, they have to be egotistical. And in many ways, that's true, yes. But it's not the elbows out and I don't care about anyone behind me. That's not what it is. It's I need to take care of myself so much that my glass is full. And when my glass is full, I can then be there for others. The big misconception is that people very often, no, that glass is actually nicely full at the moment. Very often only have like the residue on the ground, and that the few drops they have in their empty glass, they give to the thirsty. Now, there's not a lot to give. Those thirsty probably stay thirsty. And by filling up our own glass first, and not just till here, but actually till here, and even make it overflow by being, in that sense, selfish, I need to replenish my resources first. I need to make sure I am taken care of. Nobody else is probably going to do it. So I'm taking care of myself first. So I then go into the overflow, and there's an endless supply that now can feed the thirsty, if we stay with the water analogy. And therefore, being selfish couldn't be further away from being selfish if we look at it from that respect. So how do we realign our focus? I mentioned that on my, many, many times, and we mentioned that in FlowClub before and in other videos. If we know what we don't want, we always know what we do want. If we know what we don't want, if we know what we don't like, we do know what we do want. That's something that gets lost. That's why I keep repeating it. The moment I feel uncomfortable, the moment you feel stuck, the moment you feel something's jarring, the moment you feel out of, off your tracks, out of place, or whatever the feeling is, train yourself to think. And this might not happen the first and the second and the third and the first 10 times. But every time you remember it, every time you notice it, every time you get conscious of it, train yourself to go, okay, how do I feel and how do I want to feel? If I feel stuck, okay, unstuck. I want to feel unstuck. I want to know what my next step is. What if I suddenly know what my next step is? What if My next step is just raising my vibration. You see, just by realigning your focus, you're already raising your vibration. That is not to be underestimated. We are so trained to look at what is missing, and that's bad because it's normal, and it's normal because it's trained into us culturally, and it's also part of being the animal human, because we need to suss out where the danger is. So we often look at, okay, what needs to, where do I need to be safer? However, if we only continuously focus on the lack of things, on what is missing, that is what gets bigger in our life. And I think I can say I trained myself really, really rigidly, I think I wanted to say, on looking at what's the gift in any situation, no matter how painful it is, no matter how bad it seems, no matter how much lack there is, I will find the one grain of gold in a whole lot of shit. Pardon my French. But I do that because I know that one grain of gold will turn into 2 grains of gold, will turn into 4 grains of gold. And maybe not in this situation, but in the next situation. If there's really nothing you can find, go into, okay, how can I stay in my highest vibration in being in a situation that is so uncomfortable for me? Breathing, meditating, realigning my focus. And if I would have to sit there for 6 hours just staring, realigning my focus, I probably would have gone there. But these moments that are uncomfortable become less and less and less. If you train yourself to look for the magic, look for the gold, look for what's good in any situation, and please hear this, please tattoo this on the inside of your brain. Look for the good in any situation, because it will help you raise your vibration, because it will help you step back to look at the wall. It will help you to take the bird's eye view. It will help you to find a different solution. Even if it's a disgusting, dark, uncomfortable, don't want to be here situation. Looking for the one grain of gold, looking for what's good, looking for the one tiny bit of magic, even if you have to make it up, will open the door to get out of that situation much faster than anything else. And so that raises your vibration. And we get more of the energy we keep ourselves in. And that is why I say just grab for the next thing that pulls you up. Become so good in seeing what is magic in any situation, is what I've written down. Does that mean you have to turn a blind eye to what is really happening? No, it's again quite the opposite. By taking yourself out of the drama, by not identifying with it, but watching it, you're actually being able to see the full situation and not be a victim to it. Therefore, you can see and not turn a blind eye. I've been accused many times over the last 20, 30 years, oh, you just close your eyes, you think you can meditate your problems away. And I'm like, yes and no. I do think we have to take action. I do think we need to know what's really happening. I do think nothing is as it really seems to be. But I also believe that I actually have a clearer picture than most people do. And I know the power of me realigning my focus of where I want to go and why it's so important to make sure that my glass is full, because then I can help the most. On that journey, don't let anyone flatten your vision. You heard this many, many times. But this is not only because you now maybe you're manifesting fast, you have ideas for big things, for big changes, for something you want to do. People probably want to put you down because they don't have that. But they probably don't just want to put you down. They probably just want you to be safe because they love you. And they are looking through their limiting filters because they are still staring at the wall and they don't want you to be disappointed. Again, I had this week. I'm in a little mastermind group. This is a completely new group. I'm in a couple of mastermind groups where we exchange ideas and help each other. And I said, well, I have some strong goals until June. And this should be manifested. This should happen. This should happen. This should happen. Or this is what I want to happen, not should. And I knew most of these things are already in place. There are actually not a lot of things I have to do in order to move there. And someone said, I don't want to flatten your vision. I think they used a different term, but I just want to make sure that you don't hurt yourself, you know, that you're being realistic, because otherwise you would be disappointed. And I thought, I understand. Thank you for looking out for me. You're looking through the limiting filter of your own, but also because you just don't know the full story. You don't know that most of this is already in place. Of the things, I don't have to write 2 books. They're written. They just need editing, for instance. So be careful who you share your visions, your dreams, your ideas with. Again, don't react to anything that's happening. Realign your focus, raise your vibration, and realign your focus. And from there, take action. Now, when things pop up, just a few hints and pieces, not doing any tools here. If you need to forgive something, I will put a link in. I hope I remember it, of a playlist of the Forgiveness Festival. If you haven't done my forgiveness course, that's hopefully coming back this year, the Forgiveness Ninja, there was a Forgiveness Festival that will give you enough tools to start. As you know, if something pops up, like old trauma is being triggered, like old partners, ex-partners, spouses, have a look at this. I will put this in. Breathing, the heart breathing that I'm sure you all know by now, because I tell everybody, is the surefire, fastest way to get you out of stress into a more relaxed place. I always say, or people, the common denominators that people always say, I'm more relaxed and yet I'm clearer. The heart breathing, I will put that in case you need this. I'm not saying you should all do all of this. I just want you to have the resources ready. Ask yourself, if you can't find a gold grain, how comfortable can I get in this situation? How can I keep it high as possible, even if there's really nothing good here? If you are familiar with tapping, use the tapping in order to realign your energy again. And most importantly, all of this is to break the pattern. Break the pattern in that you're stuck in right now. Get out, call a friend, go window shopping, go into nature, meditate, do something else, and maybe do something else from how you usually do something else. Don't always go just into the forest because that's how you always break the pattern, because then that becomes the pattern. Break the pattern with a new pattern. I hope this impulse wasn't too, is it combobulated? What a word. I think it was coherent. I hope it was coherent. I find this so important right now, that we realign our focus, keep our vibration high, just deal with what's being triggered in a sense of, okay, something else I just need to clean. Thank you for showing it to me, because that makes life so much easier once that bit is also gone.